Today, I had the pleasure of speaking to a beautiful woman, Mary Hall, about her life during the 1900s. This is a popular topic for the younger generation simply because they were not there or they were not old enough to remember it. Textbooks contain recorded events that people today actually lived through. Listen to Mary as she shares her story.
Born February 3rd, 1949, age 63. I was born to Elizabeth and Lester Bottom, first child. Yes, I was a baby boomer, born in an era that has helped me to see lots of changes in my life. That has been a good time for me when I was a child. My childhood life was very, very pleasant, and I want to do everything that I knew that I could do as I was growing up. Being 9 or 10 years of age, we lived in the country. Life was very easy and was happy. I had 6 siblings, 4 sisters, 2 brothers. Yes, my parents let me know that being the oldest child, that I had to do a lot of the right things, which will be able to help my siblings to know that when my parents spoke to me about doing chores or whatever, this was something that I knew I had to do in order to let them see that follow my footstep, being that I was the older. My mom and my dad both worked in cotton mill factories. In the 60s, I was a teenager, driving a school bus, doing that to be able to earn some extra spending money. School was great. I had a lot of friends. At the age of 16, I had decided to bring in a friend of mine that I wanted to have as a boyfriend. And this was on my 16th birthday. My dad was highly upset about that. And he asked me, "What is it that you think that you're doing having some young man here?" I said, "Well, I'm 16 years old and I thought I'll be able to start keeping company." He said, "Just because you think you're 16, you think you can start keeping company?" I said, "Yes." Then he said, "Well, since that's what you think, you're going to have to wait another year." And sure enough, he made me wait till I was 17 years old before I was able to start taking company. At the time, I was upset, but it was fine. At the age of 18, that was in 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. 5 years before that, President Kennedy was assassinated. I was sad. My parents was too. Everyone in the community talked about it because they felt that this president was the one that would make a lot of changes. I was emotionally and physically upset at that time. That was one job that I did not want to have, was being a president. In 1970, there was great things that was happening. I went to college, and after that, had my firstborn and got married. My first real job that I worked for was at a law firm. In the 80s, having my second child, I bought my first home. The music back then in that era was great. Musicians that I met then in the 60s and in the 80s, between the two eras, I felt like the music of the 80s were the best for me. I ended up being able to meet a few famous musicians: James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Diana Ross, just to name a few. In the 90s, I bought my second home and remarried. Life was good, and I had 2 grandsons. That was by my daughter, which was my firstborn, Angela. My favorite moments in 1999 was my husband and I had a huge, big celebration party, celebrating the era, taking out 99 and bringing in the year 2000. My second born was graduating from high school. Between the two 1900s and today, the things that I see that was so different is the cars. We now have cell phones, computers, color TV, just to name a few things. The 2000s, my second born child was going to college. The best things that happened in the year of 2000 was for me to know that I have been alive and still here to see the first black president. For 100 years from now, what do I think that might take place between by 2100? That will be to see everyone in this world not being racial, no wars, just peace. Yes, I am glad to be an American because we have the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. And I think that's why everyone that flees their country to come here, they look for that. Life has really been good. It really has been good.